Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to the Between Sundays podcast. And I'm your host, Dale Satrum. And I'm here with my two great co-hosts, Katie Jones.
What's up?
Jeremy Lara.
There's my name. Let's go.
Man, we're glad that you're joining us today. This is where we just talk about following Jesus between the Sundays. You know, and it's not always so cut and dried. I mean, it's a big, messy world out there, and we just have to figure out what does it look like to follow Jesus in this world that sometimes doesn't make sense, and it's all over the place, and it impacts our hearts and emotions and decisions. And anyway, so this is the place where we talk about all of that, and we're just so glad you're here, watching and joining and listening. And so,
Absolutely. If you have been around for a while, thank you for hanging out with us. And then if you're new, welcome. This is the episode where we get into current events, but we drop 3 episodes for y'all every single week.
Yeah.
We've got
3.
Yes.
Come on.
Yep. And
3.
our favorite, or I can't speak for these guys, but my favorite is when you guys send us in your questions. So that's coming up. But current events are great too.
Current events
there's
are
some
cool.
juicy stuff out there, but
well, we got to talk about current events because,
Yep.
I mean, they do impact our lives, some
Yeah.
more than others. I get it, you know, but they're still part of conversations in your lunchroom or at work or your coworkers at home or your relatives or your neighbor.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, I think that was kind of one of our main ideas behind this was we didn't want a Christian podcast where we're bubble wrapped. You know,
Yeah.
we wanted to be able to have conversations about what everybody is talking about while also relating it back to what does God say about this,
Right.
and how should we respond.
and I think that's the criticism sometimes of Christians is that, you know, you guys got your head in the sand, right? I mean, you're not current, you're not relevant, and I mean, current events, your friends are talking about them.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do we talk about them too? And do we talk about them in any different way as believers?
Right.
Yeah.
Or do we kind of fall into the same traps as everybody else?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
So, Katie, what are we doing
What
today?
are we doing?
Come on, current event day.
We are talking about the cartel.
Woo! How can we not?
Yeah. And hey, I want you
love
guys
that you
to
go,
know.
woo,
Yeah.
Come on, let's talk about it. This is news, man.
This is produced today by PD. These were his topics.
So if you don't
he
like
picked.
it.
So, you know, we thought we'd give you guys a break from the sexy, spicy topics, and we'll give you some actual.
Next episode.
Yeah, no smutty books today, but we.
All
If
right.
you missed that one, go back and listen though. So.
Last week.
Yes, but anyways, so I was kind of struggling because usually I try to be like, okay, what's the current events? What's everybody talking about? But I felt like this week it might just be me, but I was like, man, none of these like are sparking like a passion for me. And Dale was like, how about this? How about this? So you guys are
Damn.
he was
love it.
fast on it too. So you guys can thank him for that today.
Not convinced anybody else wants to talk about it, but I was like, well, let's talk about
Heck
this.
yeah.
Let's at least talk about what was going on in Mexico.
Yeah.
What is still going on in
For
Mexico
sure. Crazy.
this week, and it's crazy.
It is
And,
crazy.
You know, and that's also important to Vallarta when I'm watching. Well, before I jump into that, let's just clarify for those of you that are confused, what happened? What is going on in Mexico?
Jeremy? Or-
Well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about it. So
And then I'll start talking about other things.
recently, the Mexican cartel leader El Mencho was killed, which he was a big leader for the cartel over there. And so there's been a lot of riots coming from the cartel end. That
This
is
is one of the
getting a
biggest
little
leaders
serious.
Yes.
of the cartel in Mexico. This guy was a big deal, okay?
Yes.
Like number one guy. I think there was a $15 million bounty on his head.
Wow.
$15 million.
Holy
Crazy.
cow.
So big fentanyl pusher, big methamphetamine pusher, responsible for a
Cocaine.
lot of that in the
Yeah.
United States.
And again, I some reading that did. I don't know if it's substantiated, but he was also in the human trafficking.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
this is not a nice guy.
That doesn't shock.
No,
you
come on.
know.
Cartels are the human trafficking too. It's just not
Yeah.
talked about much.
Yeah.
So this is a
Stand up guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can even explain how it happened. So, El Mencho was killed during a shootout in his home state of Jalisco as the Mexican military attempted to capture him. Cartel members responded with violence across the country, blocking roads and setting fire to vehicles.
Yeah, and that's
So.
some of the stuff that, you know, I was watching play out live. Some of the other major news networks, when it first started happening, they were being pretty safe in what they were saying, how the coverage. Yet, I'm looking at on some other things that I watch.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm seeing people posting live from Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah.
Which you know, I've been to Puerto Vallarta, you know, and so I'm looking at a place that, you know, just a couple years ago I was down there vacationing with some friends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and there's, you know, the tourists are told to, you know, shelter in place, and you've got cars and buses burning, you got buildings burning, you've got roads being blocked, you got guys driving up and down in rigs with, you know, with automatic weapons. You're like, whoa, my gosh, this looks like a war zone. What is going on? So, you know, the amazing thing about the technology today and social media is, I mean, you just really get to watch this stuff play out in real time. I mean, it's nuts. Because anybody with a camera can just post that stuff, and you're just almost there watching it play out.
On Facebook, there's a lot that goes on war-wise that people will post stuff, and it's like there's not like an 18 over type of video. Like I remember seeing some cartel like things and them killing like a man. Yeah. And you just see the guy get blown by a shotgun. Yeah. And I was like, how is this even allowed?
I was like, how can they do that?
Sad.
But like recording it too and stuff like that. So it's scary, but that's scary that you saw all that.
Yeah, it was wild. You know, like I said, in a place that I was just there. You know, and then you hear reports of other places around Mexico where there's other things going on, and the airport, you know, the Guadalajara airport was shut down for a while. There were, you know, incidents that were taking place there, and I mean, so you're just like, what is going on?
Are the tourists still like locked down over there, or is it?
Well, some of the stuff that I was reading today was that there's still a shelter in place. The people are still trying to get out of the country. Wow, okay. There's still violence going on. You know, the Mexican military is still involved in conflict with cartels. So, how is this going to play out? And is this going to stay contained to that part of Mexico? Now, we travel a lot on the other side, where we go to the state of Quintana Roo, which is, you know, you fly into Cancun and you drive south, and, you know, the Riviera Maya areas where, you know, we go often, and we know that there's, you know, cartel violence, you know, in that area too, but you know, they don't affect tourists too much. So there were some reports that there were violence going on there as well, but some of this stuff is fake, all right, and it's, again, there's fake news on both sides. And then later, in Cancun, the leaders of Cancun, the city officials, they came out with a video that says, no, don't believe this. You know, nothing's canceled. Transportation is still working. Schools have not been canceled. You know, people are not sheltering in place. We're fine. This violence is not happening here. So you do kind of have to, I don't know.
So
you
I actually have a friend, this is crazy, that was supposed to be here this weekend from Mexico. And I messaged her, and she can't come till April now. But I don't know if it's specifically related to that. But she had a flight and everything.
April?
Canceled?
And she was saying that they were telling her family that they need to shelter in place.
Now, where was she going to fly out of?
I don't think it's that close, but I know she's on another side. I was just going to look for her message. Yeah. But yes, she's, I'm terrible. You guys, I'm terrible.
The Pacific side, there's cartels everywhere, but the Pacific side just has always seemed to be the most unsafe place. When we go to the Riviera Maya, many times we rent a car, we drive around. I have drove all through the state of Quintana Roo, and you know, myself and people are like, did you feel safe? I always feel safe in Mexico, okay? But when I go to the Pacific side, whether at Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, Zihuatanejo, all those places, I don't rent a car. There's no way I'm driving around in the countryside. Yeah. Okay? Because it's just not safe.
Yeah.
All right? So
is Guadalajara?
Okay. That airport shut down.
Okay, yes.
It was.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So
wow.
Yeah. Anyway. Whew. So there, if you didn't know that was going on, it's going on. And you know, it's again fascinating to watch this play out. I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to share in terms of just the details?
I was just wondering
Jeremy?
if I'm just spitting on my screen. If the airport is still shut down, I was just trying to figure that out right now. So.
That misinformation, though, it is so sad that like there's literally people designed out there to just cause confusion.
I know.
That's there's people that just are trying to put out information,
Right.
and then there's like a bunch of trolls that are like,
Well, right.
it just is so hard
and
to
you kind
know.
of have to stop and make sure what you're watching is real.
Or what you're
and
sharing,
what you're
like before
sharing
you
is
share
real.
stuff. Yep.
Because when it first started happening, kind of in real time, hey, did you hear what's happening? What do you mean what's happening? And then you go and start looking. I saw some posts that initially came out that said that U.S. forces did this, that it was another Venezuela. And it wasn't. All right. It was the Mexican government. And it was that.
That's so extreme. How many?
I know.
What the heck?
Yeah.
See, because it was like, well, they did it in Venezuela. They just did it in Mexico. Way to go, America. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Did they really do this? Or was the.
Well, just both sides are trying to keep their people safe.
Yeah.
So I think if they exaggerate certain things and it's like, okay, we're not going to venture into Mexico, or the people that, reside in Mexico, they're not going to come to the U.S.,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
with a situation like this, it's kind of hard to have a clear answer for your people.
Well, it really is, and then you see all these posts, and people are now, they're instantly taking sides. They're not really taking
What
sides.
side
Well,
to
they're not
take?
taking
What?
sides with the cartels.
Oh, okay.
What they're doing is they're
That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
well, that would be a little bit weird.
Forever.
Okay,
Yeah.
who are you?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I
It wouldn't
know, but they start politicizing it, and then they start talking about secure borders, and then we start talking about Republicans versus Democrats, and this is all the Democrats' fault, or they just start doing all of that, and I was like, okay, I don't want to weigh into that, because I think sometimes that we kind of forget about the human carnage, and this is sometimes I think where all the social media, sometimes we lose our humanity. And it's like, being down in some of these places, when you're watching a place where you've been burning, and it's a little bit more, it's a little more difficult for me to sit there and watch that and then not think about the people I met down there, or the shop owners, or the people with their families. Okay. I know some people, they never travel, and so they don't ever get outside their bubble. But there's human beings down there. Not the whole the whole country of Mexico. They're not cartel people. They're people like you and I. They just want to live. They want to work. They want to provide for their families. They want to be married. They love their wife and their kids. See, and all these people are being impacted. Can you imagine the fear that some of these people are experiencing?
Yeah.
I mean, they're watching their own city or their place being burned. Their people were ordered out of their vehicles, and then cartel people, just because they were angry, poured gas on these people's vehicles and just lit them on fire. Now, thankfully, they didn't like kill the people, but just the fear that would create, which is what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so it's just sometimes I think when we watch this, we just can't get so desensitized to that. There's a human element.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. It is fascinating too. The piece of like us as Americans, we're so used to now, especially with social media, we can see all these things that are happening across the world. Like, and so I could totally see the desensitization. But it is really weird how sometimes we cherry pick like which things we feel the most empathetic towards.
Sure.
Yeah. But I don't know if our brains were meant to. Now, again, like I love staying up to date. I think it's important. I don't want to be someone that buries head in the sand, but I also am like, man, like those videos, like you were just talking about, like, are we meant to see people like getting their beheaded or like shot? Like, I don't know if we're meant, like our brains weren't wired to be able to like see that constantly without having some repercussions. So I know that's a different topic, but
well, yes, it is, but again, no, it's not. I mean,
Yeah,
really, it does
relates for
relate,
sure,
because you're just watching a lot of violence, and I saw stuff that was posted too, where they were showing a guy being executed by the cartel with a flamethrower. Now, I can't substantiate all of that and where and the timing. Was that real? Was that happening just now? And sometimes when they put information to a picture like that, I don't know what the truth is.
right.
But it was a horrific video.
Yeah.
And I know the cartel, I mean, in terms of, they love to create fear. That's how they control people, and they're incredibly violent. So all that's true. And so again, you're watching this play out, and I think sometimes we just have no compassion as people for people who are trapped in an environment of the cartels. I can't imagine what that would be like.
No.
Yeah.
We can complain about our situation, but oh my
Right.
gosh, can you imagine living under that fear, that threat, where you could be the next person hanging from a bridge, which is what they do. They execute people and hang them off of freeways. So I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The
I don't
whole-
know.
Yeah. And that kind of bleeds into our first question. With the fact that obviously we have gang violence in the States here, but there's not a lot of people that would flee this country for
Right.
that reason.
Right.
In any other country, they would flee like
Right.
automatically. And so to bridge, if we can, to the first question,
Yeah. Thanks.
our first question for all of our amazing viewers is if someone is fleeing violence in their home country, is it enough for us as Christians to offer sympathy, or are we called to take action?
Great question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not crazy black and white. Is it enough for Christians to offer sympathy? Well, we need to have sympathy. We need to have empathy. We need to have compassion. I
Mhm.
mean, there's no doubt about that. Jesus calls us to have compassion.
Yeah.
So now, does compassion lead us to take action? Well, what does taking action look like? And again, I think that's. I think Katie, go back to your point. When you're confronted with wrongs over and over and over again, and as a human being, you never do anything about it. You get desensitized about it, and you don't ever do anything about it. And I think that's kind of where it damages us, because I think sometimes when you have compassion, God uses compassion to motivate us to do things. It's part of I think godliness is where you're not supposed to just feel. I mean, sometimes that feeling compels you to do something. And, we have a God of justice, and we have a God of compassion. And so it's not just about feeling the right thing. Sometimes you need to do the right thing. Now, in this kind of a situation, how does one take action? Because I don't think God's calling us to go down and fight cartels.
Mhm.
That's not our responsibility. That's the government's responsibility, biblically, is to bear the sword, consequences. And when you have a government that doesn't,
Stop evil.
well, yes. When government does not stop evil,
Mm-hmm.
you end up having evil controlling the country. So I don't know how all this is going to play out, but I hope there's a way for them to eradicate this. Not just one leader, but they need to. But I'm sure they're gonna take a huge toll. What about people who flee here? Now we get into immigration issues
Right.
and all of that, those controversial issues.
Yeah.
And again, how do we take action?
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, though, seeing things from like this, like let's just use this as an example. You see what's happening in Mexico, and we pray for them. We feel all the empathy. Maybe there's even an opportunity for you to give or donate to people that are like their business, like you said, businesses, cars, whatever you feel pushed to do. But I would say sometimes the best thing, because there is always action you can take, but what does it look like in your own state? And it might not be necessarily drug cartel related, but is there something you could be doing to bring awareness to drug stuff or like if it hits a point with you, whatever the passion point is, you might be meant to do something in that.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think like I love kids, I love teens, and so that's one reason I volunteer on Wednesdays.
Right.
I was pushed to do that because I, used to work for child welfare. I miss the kids. I feel like
Right.
it's a passion point for me. And I feel like God really like kind of pushed me towards that. I think you might, if you're feeling a passion about something and you feel like, oh, there's just nothing I can do, lean into that passion. God gave it to you for a reason. Maybe there's another place you can place it and still make a difference in the world.
That's great.
You're not solving the cartel issue, but God's
Right.
not calling you to do that. And yet He is calling you to make a difference, in a child's life, in a student's life. Because let's face it, if a student doesn't have adult figures that love them, if they're going to be dropping out of school, if they don't have a good network of people loving on them, the data is really clear. They typically don't end up in making good choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying they're going to be part of a cartel, but they could if they were
Right.
inner city.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so really, you're investing in those kids. You're making a difference, But sometimes we get so overwhelmed with the big picture, we forget to
Mhm.
make a difference where we're at.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. Oh.
hmm.
Well, we can jump actually to question 4 since we're kind of going through that path.
Mhm.
Is it fair to judge someone who for crossing borders
Mm.
illegally if they are escaping danger?
That's a great question.
It is.
Yeah.
I think again, part of empathy that I feel like we've lost so much in our culture. Empathy is the ability to step into somebody else's life, step into somebody else's shoes, and in a way feel what they feel. And I just think that we just don't do that. What person listening to this would not flee whatever situation they're in if there is intense violence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If your children could be killed, if your spouse could be killed, wouldn't you do whatever it takes to keep them safe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
Yeah.
and I'm not saying every person crossing the border illegally is fleeing violence,
Mm-hmm.
but you can at least understand, can't we?
Of course.
Can't we at
Yeah.
least empathize with that a little bit?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
so
and I was telling you guys earlier, I'm reading a book right now, and I just finished an entire chapter on immigration. It's called How Would Jesus Vote? And he brings in
how would Jesus vote?
How would Jesus vote? He brings in arguments for both sides of things using scripture. And one thing he kind of talked about, which I was like, this is a great point, is that in the Old Testament, the laws are to treat the alien and the foreigner with your laws, and so part of that means, you do have someone that broke the law by coming into the country, but yes, maybe they were fleeing something. So what does that actually really look like realistically for us and our laws? And they're cutting in front of people that were waiting in line. Do we put them at the back of the line, but give them maybe a penalty fee? And how does that realistically look? So it's
Right.
good things to think about. And he just had some really good points, but I know that we could get into the nitty gritty of what does it look like? But I think it's something to be proud of that we take in refugees, but of course, wanting structure around it doesn't mean that you don't have empathy or that you're judging them necessarily, So it's a big question. Is it fair to judge someone? No, you're not judging them.
No, it's not.
But we still have to have certain things in place
Sure.
to have them, contribute to society in the right way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a big question.
We even here as a church, we've used this statement before. Compassion without wisdom is chaos.
Hmm.
So we are called to be compassionate, but also there has to be some wisdom to it. And,
Yeah.
and we here, we feed thousands of people every month as a church. We feed thousands of people. But even in regards to that, we have some guidelines and we have some structure and we have a way that allows us to facilitate our compassion. And we've had people in the past, over the years, they come into some of these compassionate ministries that we have, and what they have is all compassion and not a lot of reason, because compassion is driving all of their decision making. And you can't have compassion without some wisdom, because now just being compassionate, there's a right way to extend that compassion, and sometimes you could extend compassion and enable somebody. See, so it's just you got to have more than compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Compassionate wisdom.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's almost
so that's a structure. That's a process.
Yeah.
there's almost three kind of the structure you're talking about. Like first, if you look at the Bible, it's almost like the relief piece. Sure, like how can we give someone relief and show them we love them? But then how do we rehabilitate? And are we giving too much relief now to where they can't rehabilitate and then have that transformation of nope, I can do this on my own, and I can now contribute on my
Right.
own. It's like you can't have all three of those without you don't want to harp too hard on one and ignore the other two,
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
agree.
I would say to this, the reason I am here today is because my dad fled his country in El Salvador with his parents. I think his parents were in their 30s. He was 7. His brother was, I think, 4 or 3 at the time. So they fled the country because of wars and chaos. On their way up, there was moments where, my dad or his brother had to be in the back of the trunk and just riding. They got caught by the coyotes over there. So they took him, held him hostage for a day. And so he has this whole kind of testimony about that. But they didn't just come to the U.S. and that's it. They got their citizenship, which took a long time back then.
Yeah, I bet.
15 years.
Wow.
15 years. And so I think it was maybe 11, 15, but it took a long time. But it was scary for them. I mean, that's a huge step. As parents, like you said, you want to protect your kids. But they did it the right way, though. They didn't cut. They knew the risks, and they took their chance. And now all of us are here because of them.
Woo. Well, thank you.
That's a cool story.
To Jeremy's parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. See,
Your dad, you said.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we listen to the news and we see all the big numbers and we just lump everybody into the same category. And what's fascinating is that, if you could sit down with all these people, every one of them has a story. Everyone has a story. So we forget that too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hearing that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I also think we seem to be in this vicious cycle. The more I get educated, and I have a long ways to go, but specifically on immigration, it seems like we're just caught in this really vicious cycle where we have allowed a lot to happen without good policy in place. Not only that, it's been inconsistent. And so now you have people suffering that are trying to come in the right way, and it's taking forever because now we're trying to crack down on people that have been here for a long time, and it just kind of keeps going. It's just very messy, and it's unfortunate that, families that are coming here for the right reasons are suffering a little bit.
Sure.
So I definitely have empathy for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, do you want to pick another question from there, or?
Okay. Did you skip these two on purpose?
No, I just felt like it related the best. So
making sure.
let's do it.
I'm
Let's do
making sure
question
I'm not
2.
asking one Jeremy did not want to answer.
Let's do
Okay.
We're fine. We kind of answered a few of these, but
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I kind of like number 3. How do we respond when fear or anger toward immigrants becomes louder than our call to love the stranger? I mean, I'll be the first to admit that Somalian daycare stuff made me angry.
there is another topic we can talk
I
about.
know
Yeah.
we did, but I mean, so
Yeah.
I can totally. And you're getting 30-second sound bites of the most annoying things. I remember this was probably a couple years back, but it was down at the border. Someone was interviewing someone. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming in, and I'm you guys are gonna know my name. I'm gonna take over." Just the arrogance of literally, and that's probably 1%,
Sure.
but it can just viscerally
Oh, for
irritate
sure.
you because you're like, how dare you, So I've felt the anger toward immigrants that this is talking about, but I also know again, it's that small percentage. Your algorithm is tailored to make you more angry because guess what? You're gonna stay on longer if you're angry. If you see something that makes you happy and want to go do something good, you're gonna get off your phone. So they're back there making sure your algorithm is you keep getting fed what you're addicted to, So
I know.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, Katie. Some of the stuff, like I said, we're just all the stuff on social media just pits us against each other.
For sure.
And it's just hard to find common ground. It's hard to find sanity, I guess, on this whole issue. Fear, anger towards immigrants. Well, I think based on what political side you're on, the algorithms, they just drive one perspective, and and again, I think as Christians, we just got to be really careful. Followers of Jesus, it's just a lot of these issues, they get into our heart. I mean, the Bible says, guard your heart above all else. I think when we lean into this stuff, world events, you almost have to look at world events and guard your heart at the same time. That doesn't mean you don't have compassion, but I think that a lot of the media, their job is to pit you against someone, and then you just find yourself angry and irritable, and again, these are issues that you and I can't solve.
Mm-hmm.
And whether
Yeah.
it's right, whether it's wrong, what am I called to do? Well, here the question says, love your stranger. I'm not going to fix the immigration issue. I can have opinions about the immigration issue, but yet if God gives me an opportunity to love some immigrants because he puts them in my circle, am I called to love them or not? It's pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty clear.
Even on the Sabbath.
Even on the Sabbath. Jeremy's referred to a Devo we had as a staff, okay? So, well, and part of this is am I here to obey the rules? Again, Jesus says, you missed the point. It's not about obeying the rules. I want compassion, not sacrifice. I want compassion, not obeying the rules. So there might be somebody here who has come into the country illegally and they broke the rules. Yes, they broke the rules. Are they breaking the rules? Yes. But does that give you an excuse as a follower of Jesus to withhold love and compassion from them? Jesus is very clear. Absolutely not. Because that's what defines us as followers of Jesus, isn't obeying the rules. It's love and compassion. There's a higher ethic, even than rule following. It's the character of God's people, which is defined, Jesus says, it's defined not by keeping the rules, but by loving people, being compassionate. So,
yeah. That's good.
So,
I got nothing to add.
Oh,
You,
that was
Jeremy?
great. That was a mic
All
drop.
right.
Boom.
Boom.
Right there, so.
all right.
Hold up. Can I ask Jeremy?
Yeah.
Have you had anything from your perspective and like with your dad that has like really irritated you that maybe other people wouldn't be aware of?
Like when it came to him being like an immigrant, like from that?
Yeah, or anything, yeah, in your
I don't
family's
think
experience
so.
where you guys were like, I can't believe they're putting that policy in place, or
I think growing up, I think he had this resistance because of that a little bit. I don't think it was anger, but I think there was, I think just hurt of what took place in his home and then having to flee. And so then, I wouldn't say it was bitterness, but I think naturally it's kind of just like you have this resistance against it. And so, sometimes some of the things he would say would just kind of be out of pocket, watch the news and he just says something. I'm like, aren't we like Hispanic? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So, but stuff like that. And so, yeah, I would like for me and my sister, her name is Kayla. He gave us white names because he was afraid that, as immigrants that we would, get code names or, identify with just being Latino. So then, that's why he gave us. So the little things like that he told us as we got older. And it's like, okay, I see the reason you did that. I will never fully understand that because I was never in that place.
Right.
But if you're a kid watching explosions from like houses away, it's kind of just like, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that for sure. So, so, that's all I got.
appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a perspective a lot of us just can't have. We just can't, we're just too far removed from that.
Yeah.
Well, on to a lighter topic.
Yes.
We got U.S. Women's Olympic hockey team. Dale was very excited to talk.
No one's excited.
Yeah.
It's just both.
Yeah.
It's not just
No,
the U.S. women's
one
hockey.
gold.
It's the men's hockey
Yeah,
team.
that's a big
I mean,
deal.
come on. Hey, listen, congratulations to men and women's U.S. hockey teams.
Yes.
Wait,
Yes.
2 gold medals. Way
USA.
to go.
USA.
Okay. So I think that's awesome. I think
love
it's
it.
worth celebrating. Listen, both are massive achievements, and congratulations to both. I think that not that one's more important than the other, okay, but I am going to highlight that with the U.S. men's hockey team, this is the first time them winning the gold medal since what they call the Miracle on Ice in 1980. Now, again,
Oh, snap.
neither one of you were born back
Nope.
then, okay? But in
Heck no.
1980,
Cue Jurassic Park music.
Yeah.
The pterodactyl.
oh, you guys, I want to. I love you, okay? But that's cold.
We love you too.
Oh man!
No, that
Did
is
you guys
cool,
ever-
though.
Did
That's
you guys
really
see the
cool.
movie Miracle on Ice?
No.
Miracle-
I feel like I've
hockey
probably
movie?
seen it. It sounds very familiar.
Oh, all right.
Jared probably has. He loves that stuff. But I will say I loved the picture of the guy with the bloody like missing tooth.
Teeth
with
missing
the-
teeth.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's just cool stuff.
Respect.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, because
so
I
cool.
think what people are doing, people who are familiar with the story of 1980, they're transferring a lot of emotions onto the current situation.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, we're a bunch of college kids in 1980 beat it was called the Soviet Union back then. Okay, Russia. They were the powerhouse. They were professional athletes, and these guys were scary good. Nobody beat them. They were the dominant force. They were going to win. They took a ragtag bunch of college kids, and they made them a U.S. team. And I mean, them beating the Soviet Union, the Russians in 1980 was, I can't even tell you what it was, because back then it was the Cold War was going on. The two superpowers was Russia and the United States. I mean, this was such a huge thing. And the U.S. never wins hockey, okay? This is the Russian thing. So that was it was a
Yeah,
huge
that's
thing.
cool.
Nothing's been going on since then. Okay, I mean, no
Wow.
gold medal since then. So
Wow.
Yeah.
anyway, so
that's
it's a cool story. It's a cool accomplishment,
Heck
and
yeah. I love it.
talking to some of the older people on staff, they would feel the same way. They would say the same thing. So,
Aw, that's
anyway,
cool. It's good vibes.
It's a
That's
great
cool.
vibe. It's a feel good story. The controversy, I guess, is after we congratulate the two amazing teams doing something amazing and 2 gold medals and all that kind of stuff. Trump invites both teams to the State of the Union address. Now, listen, I mean, State of the Union address, really? I mean, it's not probably the most fun, wonderful thing to go to, but they would be on TV. They would be honored. So the guys accept and the ladies decline.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously you saw a little bit of the controversy there.
Yeah.
And people are kind of spinning it politically. And
Always.
well, that's always what they do is
Yeah.
so and the guys are being criticized for going. The men are being criticized for going. The women are being criticized for not going. I mean, it's just can't we just celebrate 2 teams at one?
Yeah.
Can't we
Nope,
do that?
we have to make it political.
Why do we have to make everything
everything
so doggone political for? 2 great teams. These people sacrificed to go to the Olympics. Where they have 2 gold medals. Something that was the odds were stacked against them. Can we just pause? Isn't the Olympics supposed to bring us together?
Yeah.
But once again, we're going to use the Olympics to create division.
There's president invitations for each sport though. I mean, every time that there's a finals game for basketball, the president always asks. It's just it's standard.
Yeah.
It's really standard for every sport.
It is.
So there's no need to even if you don't like the president or you do like it, it's an invite. Just go. It's not that deep.
I know, and
It's
this
not
is
that
the
deep.
world from a Christian perspective, follower of Jesus perspective. Because I know some people were like, "Yeah, stick it to Trump. I can't stand the guy," or "Stick it to Biden. I couldn't stand him." Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a follower of Jesus in a broken world, the Bible tells us, and it's kind of a command. It says, "You give respect. You give respect. You give respect to any leader because that it's just what we're called to do." Well, they haven't earned it. It didn't say they had to earn it. It just says they're in a leadership position. And so you give respect to every, king, official, what it goes through, it lists all these people that are in charge, and you give respect to them. Now, I will say that the ladies declining to show up, they said that in a respectful manner. So I'm going to give them credit for that. I'm not here to say they should show up or not show up. Who cares? But respect is due, whether you agree with their politics or not. I mean, we have lost that in our culture. We've completely lost civility, respect. So you're right. It is a standard thing that I see all the time. Basketball, football, whatever the professional sport is, you win the championship, you're invited sometimes to the White House or something, and then we turn it into, a political event. Oh, we all refuse, the president. We just stuck it to the president.
Yeah.
That's so childish.
It is.
It's completely
It's a
childish.
privilege to live here.
Thank you. It's a
It is a
privilege to live in
privilege.
the United States. It's a privilege that you were able to go to the Olympics and win a gold medal, or if you're another professional athlete, you're a professional athlete making millions more money than the average person will ever see in their lifetime, and the privilege of playing at professional sports. The president is acknowledging your achievements. Can you just accept it? Yeah, I don't. I just.
Do
I have a
you
hard time
think
with all this.
this is similar or not at all to people like taking a knee for the national anthem in sports? Do you think this is like similar? You know what I'm talking about?
Taking a knee for the national anthem.
Yeah.
I agree. What about that?
Oh, like,
What,
do you
bringing
think
up a
it's
painful
similar
topic?
to where people are? Well, I mean, I guess it kind of goes with the whole public disrespect type. Like, did that bother you when athletes would
let me-
take?
Yeah, I'm
Go
old
ahead.
school. I'm sorry. It does. Taking a knee during the national anthem.
Yeah,
That's not okay.
it irritated you.
No,
Yeah,
well, right. We'll have a right to express myself.
you do, and you're in a free country that allows you to do that. And-
Absolutely, you do. But again, I have an opinion too. There's just a respect. You're allowed to live in a country that has made you incredibly rich.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just there is, and is that the platform for it? Is that really the best platform for your opinion? You have social media, you have other things, but you want the big stage, and you want the cameras, and I think sometimes your message gets lost.
Yeah.
Once, and so
Well,
most
we've-
people who tune into sports are tuning into sports to watch sports. And those were the conversations that I quit watching football for several years when all the athletes started doing that. In fact, I quit all professional sports whatsoever for years. Because I'm not gonna, and that's my opinion. I get it, but I watch sports to watch sports. I can respect you as a person for your abilities. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I don't care what gender you associate with. I don't care. I don't care. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. I'm watching you play because the sport is what I appreciate. And I can appreciate you, appreciate your talent. I don't need you to protest something. It's just not why I'm watching TV.
It's a loud culture of like, my feelings need to be shared at all times, and it's going to come before respecting other people.
No, we
It's
respect is not a valued commodity in our culture, and it's unfortunate because again, my feelings, my right to express my feelings, has kind of become this ultimate authority for people. I wasn't raised like that. Don't think it's biblical. It's part of my Christian values. It's not in Scripture. So I have that restrains me. They don't. I get it, but it's just an odd thing because decades ago, respect was an admirable quality for anyone. Learn to respect. Doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't
Right.
mean you're weak.
We can disagree respectfully.
Well, right, and so I don't know why that has become a quality that we just no longer value. I don't understand because it creates a civil society. Respect.
So I'm going to ask this question. I'm so curious what you guys would say. Can refusing to participate in symbolic events ever be justified if it's done for ethical reasons? I almost think of like, I know this is old, but 1700s, refusing the tea because we were starting to be like, no, you're not going to tax us on that. We're just not going to drink your tea. I think people have lost the art of really figuring out what hills to die on over the years. That was almost foundational. No taxation without representation. It was like a big, that's why we are here. But these people are literally taking a knee because they think someone on cast of the sports television is racist. And I'm not gonna. I hate America because it was made off the backs of like you hear these like just completely like negative narratives and they're
very generalized statements.
Yes, that don't really have like a unifying thing. It's just it almost just feels like complaining to complain.
This question says for ethical reasons, and I think that today their feelings have become their ethical reasons. That's not an ethical reason. That's just your feelings. But your feelings have become your authority, and it's just which is unfortunate because we've taught a generation this. We've taught a whole generation of people that your feelings are your authority. We use this whole thing about my truth. That's the goofiest statement I've ever heard in my life. My truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what the heck is that?
Yeah, I know.
There's truth and
Yeah.
it's false. My truth.
My truth
What you're
is you're
saying is
wrong.
my feelings.
Yeah.
Just okay, we'll say it's my feelings. Don't say it's my
Yep.
truth.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, but you see how much. But by saying that, recognize how much authority now we give to that. Feelings change. I mean, come on. However you feel at this moment, you just wait 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. I guarantee you'll feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings come and go all the time. Feelings, okay. That's the beauty and the dark side of feelings. But now all of a sudden, we're gonna change the word feeling and we're gonna call it my truth. Man, that is scary.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
And now somebody can't disagree with you either because it's truth.
Mm.
I mean,
Wow.
that's just,
Yeah.
this is such a slippery slope, folks.
I know. I was gonna
It's
say
just
there's a lot to that.
sounds very enlightened. But it's not enlightened. It's just, it's dark.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
So-
I think that it is. There's this amazing quote, and I'm pulling a blank, but it's literally talks exactly like that. It's like when a society no longer, has these truths that they all know to be like when you can change truth, you could change I mean, we've seen it in so many other areas, science, all the like gender ideology, and it's based off of my truth, but it's not based in reality. That's where things like crumble. I mean, that's societies literally crumble. That you do your research on World War II, like Germany before that, like they started having a lot of that stuff too. So it's really, yeah, it can be. It is 100% a slippery slope. You
Yes,
said
a
it.
slippery
You
slope.
said it. Yep.
Yeah, let me tell you, you start down that path, and it can go to a lot of dark places. So,
Yeah.
oh, and we're talking about hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How did we get here? How did we get down that
seriously.
topic? Oh man.
Oopsies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was your question about ethical reasons. Yeah, that's where
Yes.
that went.
Well, the last question we have, this should wrap it up pretty nicely, is in a culture that thrives on division, what does a Christ-like response actually look like in moments of public controversy? I like that question because I think what we don't do enough is pause. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Do I even need to voice an opinion on this?
Yeah.
Is this even worth it? Like, there's so many, and yes, like we love to talk about it. We're podcasts. We like to talk about
We
stuff,
do,
but as far as like social media, sometimes it's just this huge sounding board of like, oh, like that. I just saw this one thing, and instead of doing my research, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just hate on that because I agree with that person,
Yeah.
even though I don't know all the details. Like I think we've really lost the art of pausing, reflecting, doing our own research, praying, and seeing like asking God, like what is worth my emotional energy. Is there some people that maybe I need to not follow as much, maybe not watch their stuff as much because it's not really helping me grow.
What about even conversations you have with coworkers on stuff? Do you actually have to have an opinion on everything?
Yeah.
I know people pit us into corners and try to get us to have an opinion, but it's just like, really? Do you have to have an opinion on everything? Can
Yeah.
you just like, can I just not necessarily care about this particular issue? I mean, you just can't emotionally. I mean, I talked about empathy. We talked about emotions on this podcast, but you can't emotionally bleed over every issue. That's what will
Yeah.
create callousness in you. And
Right.
eventually, you don't have any blood left, so then you just don't care about anything. So I agree with what you said. Sometimes we just got to pause, and sometimes the best response is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Is silence.
Yeah.
So-
I think a lot of the time is that people have these convictions, but really it's just our own opinion.
I've been guilty
You
of that
know,
for sure. That's a great
which
point,
happens, and
Jeremy.
so
yeah.
I think you have to be so careful listening to the voice of God, because if in a moment there's something that you see on social media and it's like, man, like I'm gonna post something about it. It's like, whoa, is this your conviction from the Lord, or is this an opinion to create more division? Nothing from the Lord will create an evil division like that. And so it's scary, because then a lot of people will use the Lord and bring that into their opinion. That's why now with the church, that with homosexuality, then you have deconstructionalism now in the church happening. You have this branch of like, I believe in the Bible and this faith, but I also think God's okay with this, because I feel it. I feel it. You know, it feels
My
good in here.
truth.
It's my truth. You know, and sometimes we tie our what God has put in our spirit to the emotions too much, like you said earlier. You know, so I'll branch off just a little bit, but even in a worship context, sometimes I like to say in a room like, hey, we're not worshiping worship, or we're not worshiping the motion of worship
Right.
either. Because that's where, just in life, that's where we're drawn to. It's like we end up worshiping that actual action or the effect of something. And it's, we need to be worshiping the Lord in something like this. And so that's kind of perspective on
So
how I
good.
see conviction for that. So,
No, that's
Great,
good,
Jeremy.
Jeremy. I
Yeah.
really do. I agree. I think some people conviction is emotion is the same as conviction. What I always like to ask people is if they're very
Passionate?
passionate,
Yeah.
opinionated about something, and sometimes they'll even say, "Well, I got this from the Lord." I love to ask them, "Okay, what biblical principle are you basing that on?"
mm-hmm.
And usually, what I get is a blank stare back.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do you mean? Well, you certainly would base that strong of an opinion on a biblical value, a biblical principle. Okay, I mean, not just on a feeling, not just on. I mean, because if God told you that, He's not going to contradict His word.
Yeah.
Because if it contradicts what God has already specifically explained, that's not from the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Could be your feeling, but it's not from the Lord. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but I know
That's
but that as followers of Jesus, we should base those convictions on biblical values. And if you can't base it on a biblical value, you probably should do some more praying.
Yeah. I agree.
That's good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I got nothing.
Enough about
No,
hockey.
You guys
So
nailed it.
congrats to men's and women's hockey team.
That's right. Way to go.
So, good
Woo!
stuff, guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, based on that, let's wrap this up.
Yes, you guys, throw us in your group chat, share with your friends. We are
Yeah.
on the Grow. Hit that subscribe button. And we are coming at you 3 times a week, and we love hanging out with you guys. Send your questions to bspodcast@foothillsonline.com, and we'll be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right. See you guys.